podcast. I am your host, Alexa Joe, or JoJo, definitely in this episode, JoJo, and I am joined here today by my most lovely, kind-spirited friend, Bri.
Hi, JoJo.
I'm so happy to have you on the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. This is my first podcast. I'm just like honored that you would even want me on here. I'm like, so thankful.
Of course. That's a no-brainer to me. And we are recording here from the big island of Hawaii, and that is where I met my dear friend Bri. And I feel like you were kind of, besides my workaway people, you were kind of my only friend here. And you introduced me to a lot of other people in a really special way. And you just do so many things to create community. So I could talk about you for an hour, and I will, and we're about to. But
Love that.
But why don't you just say hi and a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Yeah, I actually thank you for saying that, because I love being that person that connects people. Like, I've been the person that's been lonely here on the island, and I know what that feels like. I was started off as a work trader too, and I was like, it can be very isolating on a big island with everyone's kind of spread out in all these different places. I'm like, how can I bring people together? And for the first year, I remember I made acquaintances. I made mostly acquaintances and people I knew in passing, but I desired that deeper connections. So kind of stemmed a bit of what came to be known as exploring within, was that desire for deeper connections, not just the superficial, hi, where are you from, the weather, that type of conversation. I'm like, let's dig deep immediately. And that's always kind of been, I've always loved bringing people together since I was in high school. I was an AP kid that would bring my jock friends and my anyone I would meet. I would host parties, so that came naturally to me, is just to bring people together.
It doesn't surprise me at all that you were that person. You would host parties and try to bring together different groups of people, because that's what you do here. Yeah. You're Bri. On the island, if I say, oh yeah, Bri did this, people just know who you are. Because you do bring community and really special things. And first of all, you didn't even grow up here. You're not from the Big Island. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from California, Los Angeles. My family's from Nicaragua.
Okay.
I used to spend the summers in Nicaragua, which is actually partially what brought me to Hawaii. Nicaragua and Hawaii have a lot of similarities in terms of natural environment, ambiance, slow pace of living. Obviously California, LA is not that. It's very much the opposite of that. So growing up with the summers there, I would go to my grandma's farm every single summer. She has horses, cows, chickens. She had a monkey in a tree at one point. That was my childhood. And then for a portion of the year, the summers, and then and then LA, a concrete jungle. So very two different polar opposite realities. And I never felt enough of either one of the places. I don't know how to describe that, but I was never enough of a American, Californian, LA person, and I was never enough Nicaragua, Hispanic. Over there, I was their gringa cousin. But Hawaii somehow found a way, when I came here on a vacation, it reconnected me back to that little child that just loved climbing trees and being in nature that I just couldn't get in California. To a degree you could, but not in the way, the aloha here. I think that's what made me want to come back.
Perfect way to put it. Yeah, the aloha.
Yeah. And to a degree, I don't think Nicaragua has a word for it, but Nicaragua has aloha. People would welcome me into their homes. Neighbors just commune on porches, on little rocking chairs, and with a cup of coffee. That's very normal. People would come into my grandma's house all the time that I didn't know, and then we're welcoming them in, making them food. And you don't get that in California. Yeah. People just close their doors. You barely know your neighbors, So I think Hawaii has given me a taste of like being back home without being back home. It's the first place that I've felt at home, in a place where I'm like, I actually want to build something here. I want to stay. I'm like a lot like you. I like to travel and go everywhere. And this was the first time I'm like, let's figure out what it's like to stay here
Yeah.
in one place. And I love it here.
So how old were you when you left LA?
I believe it's like 23, 24. I left in 2021.
Okay.
The summer of 2021.
And were you going to school there?
I graduated UC Santa Barbara in 2019.
Oh, cool.
So like about a year, 2 years later. And I actually, after graduated 2019, and that same year, my family came on a family vacation post-graduation to Hawaii.
Okay. Which island?
This island, the
Okay.
Big Island, yeah.
Okay.
I actually had this whole life-changing moment on the beach where I watched the sunset, and it shifted my whole life. Like I stopped drinking and smoking after that. It was just like shifted something in me. Mm-hmm. That was, I believe, like the start of a healing journey. And then so much more after that, but that was the start of something for me.
Okay. So you went on the vacation and then you went back and you've done some other traveling too, yeah?
Yeah. So I like studied abroad, like Italy, Spain. Those were like the two hubs that we stayed at, Barcelona and Florence. But while I was there, I went to like, I think 12 different countries. Once you're there, right? It's so much,
Right.
so
Yeah. Well,
easy.
because I studied in Florence when I studied
yeah, me
abroad.
too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So you go to a ton on the weekends and everything.
Yeah.
But
so easy. Just a bus ride over, or train ride.
Yeah. So you might as well.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you came back here. And what was it that kind of gave you that push that made you think, okay, I need to move to the Big Island?
Yeah. It's funny. So after graduation and after Hawaii, our trip here, I fell in love with it. I didn't think I knew at that time that I was going to move here. I mean, I spent like a year after in this like corporate assistant secretary role in the office. And I was just like a full year of that.
That's so not you.
So not me. And I actually vowed when I quit that job, I would never work a desk job again. Like, no mas. But I did that for a year because that's what everyone kind of expected me post-graduation. Like, you have to get the job, right? Like, what are you going to do after graduation? I have no clue. But
Right, exactly. It feels like everyone is lining up jobs before they even graduate. And so it just feels like that's what's next.
Right. And that's not what I wanted. It's definitely what my parents wanted. But I wanted to, so since I had studied abroad, I wanted to do this whole like travel tour guide bus to Alps position. But I was like, you did bus to Alps?
I think that sounds so familiar. I feel like I took a trip through them.
Yeah. They host trips in different parts and like they like based out of Florence and then they'll take you on a bus somewhere. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I recognize it.
So I thought I was going to do that, but then I was like, okay, I'll defer for a year. My parents were like, why don't you make money first and then you can, I was like, okay, you're right. I could do that. So I did the whole like 1 year in this like secretary role. And it actually, February 2020, I experienced this silent disco dance journey out on the beaches of Venice called the wave movement, like the wave silent disco. And I never experienced anything like this before. So one, it's a silent disco, so you have the headphones. 2, it's outdoors on the beach. It's like so beautiful at sunset. And then 3, it was a guided dance journey. And I think I got like a free ticket. That's how I showed up and got there. My dear friend and mentor, Julia Grace, who is the reason I'm now doing what I do, but she was hosting this event on the beach that I attended, and it changed my whole life. Like I've never experienced such a like beautiful self-expression in dance and movement. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I quit my job at that time, the secretary. I quit it, and I was like, I just knew I wasn't happy. And there was a part of the guided movement journey where we were connecting the spirit of a past loved one, and it was at this beautiful sunset, and I connected to my uncle who had just passed in January, and he told me to find my happiness. And I was so unhappy in that job. So fast forward, I quit. And then I'm like, let me do the bus to Alps. I'm gonna pursue a career in the travel and hospitality.
Yeah.
Right. So I start applying. I was gonna do this whole internship in the summer. Again, though, it's like 2020. So March comes around and the whole world shuts down and travel's like not even an option, right? So
shoot, that's when I got sent home from Florence.
you were.
That's crazy. What if you actually got the job then and we met because I went on one of the bus to Alps trips?
We probably would have at that point.
We were gonna meet.
We were bound to meet.
We were bound
somehow.
to meet.
One way or another. Yeah. But yeah, so that shook everything up for me too, because I'm like, well, now what? Like, what am I gonna do now? I can't do the whole travel desire, right? I had the itch that we get to travel, and it was sometime during the pandemic. I was living with my parents at the time, and I was painting like these mountains and like a Milky Way in the background with like the stars, and I remember I put like there was too much like empty space on the mountain. I was like, oh geez, like I put something here. So I was like, what if I put the word explore? I was like, damn, but I can't put the word explore because I can't do that. Like I'm stuck here. So I wrote the word explore within, and I like still hold that painting. It's inside of my like laptop.
You
sleeve.
have to. You have to keep that forever.
Yeah. And that was the start, because Exploring Within is my brand now, but I had no clue that was
kind of almost foreshadowing what you were about to do and dedicate so much time and energy and passion towards.
Right. And I remember I painted the painting. I was like, I love that phrase, like explore within. Like, okay, I can't go out and explore the world right now, and I'm stuck indoors. And my parents were super strict about the indoor part, so I had to explore within. Like I had no choice. So I had to like really delve into myself, my world again, like what makes me happy. Why was I so unhappy before? Like it was during that time I turned to writing. I wrote a lot during my journal, and that's still like a practice that I hold really near and dear, because it's like it's free therapy, you know. You're just reflecting, getting all the thoughts out into paper. And so I think at that time I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a blog, maybe I'll do like a podcast. I delved into a whole, like I bought the domain name Exploring Within. I still at that point had no clue. I put up a website that said like coming soon, and then abandoned it for a full year. It said coming soon. I'm like, I don't know how soon, but
it's coming. We don't know when.
We also don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah. No idea. We just know that we like the phrase. You wanted to keep it for yourself. Yeah.
And then also I think it said something, it was like mindfulness, nature, adventure. So that was like the premise. Anywho, a year later, or once things start opening back up, one of the first things to open back up in LA was the Wave silent disco. And I was like, it had made such a big impact for me back in February. It's like August of 2020. I was like, I want more of that. I want to experience that. So I like reached out to the founder, wrote a whole email about like if she needed any support or help in any way. I believe I started off as a volunteer for their like just helping out with like passing headsets, and then I was like, I want to be like more involved. So I got hired on as their events coordinator, so started helping out with the coordinating of the events. These were like weekly silent discos out on the beach, and it was amazing. Like especially since people couldn't go to like clubs or bars, or things were still like a lot was still limited at that point of what you could and couldn't do. Like outdoor gatherings were okay, but with social distancing and all this. So after like all those months of like isolation, this helped me get back into like community and connecting, and like also connecting without words, like connecting with dance and movement. And it was just this like really beautiful practice that I owe a lot of my own healing journey to, because I was like a very angry, and it's kind of hard to like I think if you see me now, think of me as that version.
Yeah,
Like
I
an angry-
can't imagine that at all because you're just the most calm, relaxed spirit.
Oh my gosh, if you knew me as like a teenager though, like I came from like a household, like my family is very Hispanic, religious, Catholic, conservative, strict, controlling. And my dad had PTSD, so hit from being in the Marines and his like outlet of anger turned a lot to like physical aggression towards my sister and I grew up not feeling safe and being told if I cried that he would give me a reason to cry. I was like, I'm already crying, so that doesn't make sense. But that the anger, the physical violence, the chaos of like being home never felt safe to me. So, and then all that anger towards my dad, the resentment, like that ate at me growing up and through high school and then through college and getting re-traumatized through unhealthy coping mechanisms and
then having that freedom to be away from it when you are in college and then going back to it.
Right.
And also in college, look, this is kind of the same at any college, but also I've visited UC Santa Barbara, and there's a lot of other outlets to feel a different way.
Right.
So I have to imagine that time period in your life where you come back home and all that stuff stops, all that distraction, and then you're back in that place. It's a really difficult period of life.
It is, and it was also like wildly healing too. I will say, like, being in Santa Barbara, there was an experience my freshman year that really like traumatized me at that point, that for like I just like delved into like lots of my own depression, and I did not have like healthy relationships with men based off of like my own daddy issues. And Santa Barbara, it's a beautiful place, but it's also like really big on like party culture and like hookup culture. So I did to a degree lose myself in that. I was part of a ski and snowboarding club, and that was our thing that we did. We like monthly threw parties. And so again, like I think it makes sense that I am who I am now. I throw parties, but now I throw like mental health and wellness and, and like mindfulness practice type parties. So but at the core, it was like socializing and connecting with people was what I loved. But rewinding over to like being back home during that timeline. So the world shut down on March 17th and my birthday was March 20th. And I was going to do this whole like party with my friends, and I couldn't do couldn't host that party. But instead I had a party with my family in our home, where I was like, okay, we're going to start off with like a morning tea. We're going to do like all the things I love, and we're going to do it together indoors. So we did like tea and then yoga. We had like a karaoke night, and then we'd like dance, and it was like one of my best birthdays I'd had up until that point. And you know, there wasn't fighting that day, at least. But it taught me to find peace within, regardless of like the outside circumstances, which is not easy. It's actually really challenging, but like it was a practice, I think, in letting go, in forgiveness, in sticking to my values and like my practices. So during that timeline of exploring within, during the pandemic, being at home, I was writing every day. I was doing yoga, breath work, art. I was like delving into those practices that I don't think I had ever given myself the opportunity to really delve into. So it was what I needed at that time. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so interesting to hear you say that that's kind of your past life, because when I think of you, I just think, oh, that girl's got a very calm energy.
Thank you.
Very peaceful, very just like, I don't know. I know that you're sober all the time, but you're just like so zenned out. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
And so it's just really nice to be around you. And how we met was actually, I think, through a Ladies Artisan Market event, which is, you know, a group for women, particularly entrepreneurs on the island. And I was invited to go to that with my friend Maria here, who I was working for at the time. And then I went there and I met you, and I remember we were talking and you were like, I just feel like we really have, like, I like your vibe, I like your energy, I feel like we have a good connection here.
Yeah.
It's like, we do.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice. I was like, I love when somebody will just say that, you know? It's like, yeah, we were really vibing and just so sweet. And then after that night, I remember walking into a coffee shop, Kaya's, and I was like, I think I recognize her, but I feel like she won't remember me. And then you were like, JoJo. And we sat and talked, and then I had been seeing your flyers for silent discos around the island, and I wanted to go, but I didn't like have anyone to go with. And I guess that's not like something that would super hold me back, but I also didn't have a car for a lot of the time that I was here. So then when I did have some people here, we rented a car together, and I was like, do you guys want to go to this silent disco? I think it sounds fun. And it was nothing like what I was expecting. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but with disco I was like, I figured we'd dance with the headsets on and whatever, but I didn't know it was going to be as like food for the soul. Like I didn't know it was going to be so refreshing. I didn't know I was going to feel so good. And you know, it's definitely not everybody's thing, like dancing in the park when there's a ton of people walking by, but like it really doesn't matter, especially I mean in Kona and in Hawaii, it's just kind of like, yeah, they're doing their thing. I mean, there are other particular parts of the island that it would be less thought of, you know, like
Exactly.
I don't want to call anybody out here.
You don't have to say it.
I don't want to target any areas here, but certain that you just wouldn't bat an eye to. Right. But anyway. And
can I ask you, sorry to interrupt, but can I ask, like, what was your experience? If you don't mind describing it.
It's like one of the highlights of my time here. It was so special and so fun. And so I want to talk about it, but I also want you to talk about the way that the events go. So I'm just going to say what my experience was so that you can know what it's like from a different point of view. But so we show up and you get a headset, and I believe you gave us a word. Did you give us a word, or did you have us come up with a word?
Like intention.
An intention.
There's like a theme for each one.
Okay.
Like an overall arching theme, but ultimately everyone chooses their own intention at each dance, like what they're dancing for.
Okay. Because I remember that it was community. And something that I had been really having a hard time with being on the island up until that point that weekend. We had some people come in and we really clicked and had a fun time, and they came to it with me. But up until that point, I was having a really hard time with loneliness here. And I was surrounded by people often, except for when I was down in Captain Cook and I was the only work trader at my position or at my job. So it was pretty isolating, and I didn't always have a car. And so I was just really missing being around people that really knew me and that community aspect of home. And so then when I came and that was the word, I was like, okay, this is something that is like really something I need to connect with. And then, you know, you on the headphones, it's really cool that you talk to us, even though we're somewhere else and you can just hear it, and you play nice music and then come together and give us prompts on different types of dancing to do. And it's kind of funny because there's just such a wide range of people. Because it would be me and a couple of my friends, and then you know, it was very out of the comfort zone for a lot of them, so like it was cool. Maybe wouldn't do it again because they don't like dancing in the middle of the park. But some of them did like it and would do it again. And then there's also JoJo, who was playing with fire.
Oh yeah, you were at that one.
Yeah, and he was going crazy with the fire, and I was like, what is this? And then there's, you know, other people that are just like, they're alone and they're, you know, a bit older, and they're just there for one reason or another to release. And all people have different reasons for being on the island and how they got here. And it was just a really, really cool thing. And now you've expanded your events even more so. And I'm going to let you talk about that. Okay. But on that note of people coming to the Big Island, so you said your ticket here basically was a work exchange. What kind of work exchange were you doing? Or you did a couple, didn't you?
A couple, yeah. I think I did 3 different work trades before.
Dang.
I was like, okay, I actually want to stay here. I want to like root. I didn't know that at the time. I think when I first came out, I thought like, oh, maybe I'll do like 4 months, 6 months. We'll kind of like play it by ear, see how I like it. I was trading at a coffee farm down in Captain Cook, doing tours, talking about coffee, serving coffee. And I'm not even this like crazy coffee fan. It's just like, that was just what coffee actually gives me. Like,
it makes me anxious.
Yeah, like very jittery. I got hooked on caffeine though there because we'd get all the leftovers.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you're given samples. You're supposed to know what it is to describe it.
Yeah.
And a little bit here and there adds up.
It does, definitely. But so I started up there, did like a retreat center, and then came back up in Javi, and then came back to Captain Cook for like a citrus farm. So I did that so from June of 2021 till January of 2022 before I was like, I actually want to stay here on a route. And then exploring within didn't come till April of 2021. Is that right?
So while you're doing the work exchanges,
sorry.
or 2022 after the work exchanges? Okay.
After the work exchanges, the year after, like, yeah. So when I knew I wanted to stay here, I fell in love. That definitely probably helped. Fell in love with my partner, who we've now been together for like 2.5 years now.
And you guys met on the island?
Yeah, he actually traded at the first farm that I started off at, and we were like friends.
That's like what you hope will happen when you go do a work trade on an island. You're like, maybe I'll meet the love of my life there.
That's so funny because while that is probably like real for a lot of people, I was at this stage of my life where I'd been like single and celibate for almost 2 years, and I was very much in this like no men stage of my life.
Yeah, that's
like,
when
I'm
it
dating
happens
me.
too.
Yeah, like I was like, I'm dating me. I don't need no man. I am my own woman and my own man. And it's so funny. We became friends. He was just like a friend here on the island, and then I broke my toe, and that was like I feel like the island is the grounding island. It's the island that roots us. It's the one that tells us to like, Big Island tells us to like slow down. And it was like a literal physical, like, slow the F down, you know? I was on crutches for 2.5 months, and it was also during that time that he and I started connecting more. He like made my crutches comfortable. He like wrapped them in blankets and like bathroom mats and wrapped them and
like the memory foam?
The memory foam.
That is so sweet.
He made them soft, and crutches are really tough. And then here too, like with the island, it's very rocky and lava-y. And he took me to my doctor's appointment, and like literally 4 days after breaking my toe, I'm like, I already loved him. And then I think I fell in love with him. And like 4 days after I broke my toe, we kissed. 4 days after our first kiss, like we went into like a lava cave and spent 22 hours in this cave
with a broken toe.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it. He was like, yeah, I think you can get through. Like he was
like
describing
the lava tubes.
It was a lava cave.
Okay.
But it was a big open one, and so we wanted to go camping. I asked him, I was like, do you think I can get through there with like the crutches? He's like, yeah, I think so. There's some stairs, and then you just have to cross. And I was like, okay, cool. He spends like the next 2 hours putting an inflatable mattress, like blankets, pillows, candles in there, and then it's all ready. And then like I had never been there, and I'm like, now I have to make it. You know, he put a lot of effort into it, so I had to like crawl and like with my toe up. But yeah, we spent 22 hours in there, and I just fell in love with that man. He taught me that it's okay to ask for help, that there's people that want to help you, that you're not alone. You don't have to do everything alone. Because that's what I think I had been telling myself and teaching myself like those 2 years of being single. And it was honestly during that time, I was also like in dating myself and loving myself, creating like a standard of what I deserved that I never did in the past. Like I would just like date, and I would just accept what I was given and be okay with that and settle for the crumbs. And like during dating myself, I was like, no, like I was empowering myself to believe that the next person I did, like I was like it was gonna be my person. I'm not settling, you know?
Right.
And a girl, like, not settling. Like, this man literally gave
Doesn't
me,
sound like there's a settle in there.
no, he literally, that night, I think, is, like, one of the most romantic nights I've ever had. I'm in a cave in Hawaii.
And he set it all up all nice and...
Yeah. And he held me and he told me I was safe. And
Oh. And that hits a really... That kind of makes me shiver. That hits a really soft spot for you.
It does. Yeah. Like, I had told him, I'd, like, opened up to him a lot at this point. Like, we're just getting to know each other. But I'm, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, I've, like, really opened up to him about, like, what I've been through with my family, with my traumas. And he held me and told me I was safe. And I've, like, felt safe for the past, like, 2.5 years. And he's just my safe place, my home. So.
That's so special.
Yeah. He's actually who encouraged me in April. We moved in February together, half a year of being here.
Okay. Yeah.
It just all happened really fast. I'm like, you're my person. Okay, we're doing this.
And it can. Now, I'm kind of young, but I feel that with my boyfriend as well, that you're just like, oh, I just know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it doesn't really feel like there's a set timeline. Like, you just go with your gut.
Yeah. You know. I'm so happy for you.
I'm so happy for you. Oh my gosh.
So happy for us.
We're just killing it.
Slay.
I'm so happy for us.
We deserve it, though. We do. But he's actually who encouraged me in April to start exploring within. So a little rewind. I'd mentioned the Way of Silent Disco. I'd done a facilitator training with the program, essentially learning these like movement modalities. Like, it's based and founded on dance movement therapy. And I went on a retreat. I experienced just like such a profound leap in my own sense of self and belief in my own power that I don't think I ever could have experienced without this, like this opportunity that my mentor opened up for me to come be part of the training, learn what it is that she's been cultivating. And it really empowered me to want to like do more of the things that I love. And writing was a big one. Community building was a big one. Art, connection to nature. So I was like, how do I combine all the things that I am passionate about and that I've learned through the wave to create like my own expression of my own passions. And so in April, he encouraged me, because I still was like, I don't know if I could do it on my own. Like, I'm still figuring out, like, I was still, at that point I was busking to pay for rent. So I was like singing and doing like man to night tours.
What does busking mean?
Busking is like street performing, like singing on the, like,
cool. I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah, I've been doing that for some time now.
Do you still do it now?
Yeah, not like super frequently, just like whenever I need to express. That's another form of self-expression that I feel like really releases a lot for me, like singing. And so he encouraged me, just like, how much are the headsets? Like, maybe you can invest in yourself and do that. I'm like, oh, and I still had lots of like scarcity mindset around it. Or people could pay. How much are the heads? You know, so it was an investment, but ultimately worth it, because it's allowed me to connect so many people that wouldn't normally connect. Like you said, like when you came, there's like of all ages.
You had to you invested in the headsets. It's a tricky thing because they're not cheap, I'm sure, and it's also taking a big leap of faith.
It is.
And that's the thing, is when you start something, it's hard, because I think it's so easy to convince, or to not convince yourself, but just to feel like you're not doing something real yet. And so it's hard to spend the money, especially like, you have to be committed in that. And then to explain to people what you're doing, sometimes you have, at least for me, I feel like I know what I want my brand to be. I know that I have these ideas, but it's hard for me to necessarily communicate that all the time. And sometimes I like talk myself down in a way, and I'm like, oh, people are going to think that's silly or stupid, or like reaching too far or something, when they're like, well, how are you going to make money off your brand? And things like that. And I'm like, well, I know how people do, but it's hard when it's not necessarily something that people, like a big thing yet, it's hard to feel like it's legit.
And to trust it.
Yeah.
That's going to work
but
out.
What I'm kind of working on is like, no, I need to wholeheartedly back it.
Right.
And other people will too.
Yeah.
But when I go at it in a timid way, or like, yeah, it's just like something I do. It's like just for fun. It's not just for fun. Like it's something that I really want to, I'm passionate about, and I want to make a difference with and an impact. And so I need to make sure that I don't downplay it when I talk about it with other people.
For sure.
So did you feel like you had a hard time with that, with exploring within?
Yeah, I actually really did, especially at the beginning. Really having to work through the limiting beliefs and the blocks about, like you said, I know what I do, yet somehow like communicating what I do can be challenging because it's like people know silent disco, maybe there's preconceived notions or perceptions of like, oh, like rave or
right, because sometimes it is like a big rave where everybody's got different headsets,
right? And then I have to be like, oh wait, but it's like also a guided silent disco
spiritual journey.
And it's hard to express what in words and everything experience because there's so much more to it, and I can't quite put into words an experience because everyone's going to experience something differently too. Like it also depends like how you're showing up. Are you showing up reserved with expectations? Are you coming up with judgments or criticism? Also, what emotions people are bringing to the table and how willing to be vulnerable, how willing they are to be vulnerable is a big one. Because our experience, what I offer, is uncomfortable. Like you mentioned, it's out in the park, we're public, you're dancing. Not everyone's super comfortable with expressing themselves through movement. But I think what's beautiful about exploring within is we collectively cultivate a safe space for vulnerability, for all emotions to be present, to be welcomed. You might be having like the best day of your life and show up. You also might have gone through something really challenging. So everyone shows up differently, right? So their experiences are all going to be unique to themselves, but it is an inner exploration. So it's very carefully cultivated and curated to evoke different emotions through songs. So I believe music is a universal connector. It's something that we can all resonate with across all socioeconomic lines, cultural barriers. There's like, music is the one universal, like this is the one universal language. So I very intentionally choose music through different stages for specific intentions, right? So we can kind of take you on that roller coaster with us. Exploring within always starts with an intention and what are we dancing for? What do we want to call into our lives, cultivate? Between each song, we come back to that intention. We come back to our breath. We come back to our bodies. And because exploring within is like, there's a strong emphasis on connecting to nature, to others, and to ourselves. So those are like the three pillars. We connect to nature through the elements. So beginning with air through breath. So deep breaths, really grounding into the present moment, letting go of anything else that's happening through the day so you can really be here. Then moving into earth, like coming down to the earth, literally physically touching and connecting with earth, all the ways that this planet provides for us, delving into connecting with water, and you do that with slow circular like movements, watering that seed of your intention that we planted in the earth and then through our bodies, and then the last there at the beginning, opening circle, is the connecting to fire, which is shaking as fast as you can, creating some heat. And I think that really sets the framework and the foundation. So those four, like the beginning songs, set the framework for exploring within like the next hour and a half of dancing. Because then that's more of an inner connection, right? Then there's the expression of outer connection where people are connecting to their inner child and visualizing that little version of themselves through a song and letting that inner child guide a dance. There's another song for connecting to your body in loving ways. So we're our own worst critics. We're always, everyone has a reason to maybe not love on themselves or their bodies, but through this whole song, that's all you're doing. You're looking at your hands and really acknowledging what they allow for you to do. Your arms to cook, hold, write, touch, hug, your legs and feet, where they have taken you, their ability to run, jump, skip, swim. Those are easier to love, right? Then there's like acknowledging the heart and its ability to just beat, and the lungs for their ability to just breathe, and all your cells and immune systems and organs. And then there's a part of that song where you're loving on a part of you that you have shamed, disliked, spoken negatively to, with love and gratitude, because it's a part of you, and it's a part of what makes the full of us. So this is like why it's an emotional roller coaster, right? Like it can be fun and uplifting and like wow, and then you like come into these moments where like you really have to like see yourself and challenge yourself to move through discomfort. It can be a little bit challenging too for the portion where we mirror people, so I have people connect with
That's right.
others, right? Yeah. So do you remember that part where we had to like encourage people to like move through space, find someone closest to them, and then just dance with this person, acknowledging the ways that they move differently from you, and mirroring to move as another person does. And then there's a portion when we're all in a circle, we come back into our circle and acknowledge each other for who we are all showing up in our uniqueness, and everyone's given an opportunity to be seen, which can be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. It might be something that we all desire, to be seen, understood. But when it comes to actually being seen, like a lot of us have to dim our lights or have had to for our own reasons. There's a whole song where everything has to go out the window, showing up as we are to be seen and expressed and dance. And everyone's encouraging and like uplifting, feeling those feelings of belonging. And after that, like after this really big uplifting moment, there's an opportunity to come back, having people to come back to themselves, go on a walk to find somewhere that they're comfortable, be on their own, and to then be with their shadow, to be with their darkness, to be with the parts that are challenging, the pain, the past, the stories they've been holding on to, and just look at these parts as kind observers, not with judgment. And this is like an opportunity for like release, acknowledging like, do these emotions, these heavy feelings, do they still serve us? Do you still want to be holding on to them? It's okay to acknowledge our feelings. There's no point of like repressing them, because then we're not, the whole idea of feel to heal is like a big part of this portion of the dance, where it's like you have to feel it, acknowledge what you've been through, but move through it in a healthy way, not the unhealthy coping mechanisms. So that's a really big one for a lot of people. It's emotional, it's vulnerable. And coming out of that, as you make space for the things, or as you let go of things, you start to make space for things you do desire. So I encourage people to connect now to back to that intention, to a purpose, like to their gifts, their strengths, and to really see their resilience through these hardships, and songs for connecting to that purpose, to feel uplifted, feeling their strength, and in community. So there's a portion where I bring out these little like flags that are our dream flags, or like that thing that you want to bring into the world, and we share it with others to see that you don't have to do it alone. People, even strangers, support you and believe in you, and even if you don't believe in yourself yet, that's the intention there, is for people to see that they can believe it. Like if you can believe in others, you can believe in yourself.
And I feel that so much on the Big Island. Like I feel like so many people I've met are just supportive right off the bat.
Yeah.
And they just want to lift each other up and welcome you in and be a community. And that's something that you've really done with Exploring Within. And it's really cool that you found a way for people to kind of work through some of those things that they may avoid usually, because it's those kinds of things, those darker, deeper parts that kind of make you want to jump out of your skin, at least me personally. And it's really hard to deal with. But when you're physically moving and you're in this space where you can also take off the headsets and hear silence, okay, actually I can escape that for a second, then go back into the zone. it's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's really cool that you've also found ways to work with other people on the island, other organizations. And one of them that I went to was Clean Rewards, and you did something together, and it was a beach cleanup, but we also had the headsets. So Bri was playing music. I don't think you said anything, but you're playing music, and then after you had a potluck, and I think that might have been my last day on the island, so I had to run.
No, Aaron's amazing. He's been doing beach cleanups for so many years. I actually went to a few of his, and then I was like, wait, wouldn't it be kind of fun? Because I would put in my headphones during my beach cleanups and just dance, and during his beach cleanups, and just dance around. I was like, wouldn't it kind of be cool if like everyone could come and like listen to music while they're doing this awesome thing for the planet? And you know, my brand is also big emphasis on nature and our connection to nature. And I'm like, what better way to connect to nature than to like literally help out our like Malama Aina, protect our island, our land and its animals, so that I hate trash. I've always been the type of person on hikes like pick things up, and like on beach, like, and just knowing that there's people that care so much, and he's done like monthly beach cleanups. I wanted to help be a part of that in a unique way. Like, let's put a unique spin on this. I was like, I don't think there's any like silent disco beach cleanups out here. So
none ever. You're the first.
Yes. And then we did the potluck after. We've done a few now with him where we've done like a potluck after and yoga, or we did exploring within after a beach clean. We had a whole beach day once where we learned how to make leis, face and body painting. There was like kids painting on canvases. So I think big emphasis on art, nature, community, movement. Those are like all pillars for me. So the new collaborations with new facilitators is always how to bring our own unique gifts and offer them to our community around wellness and mental health, like advocating for mental health, because we're all on different pages on our mental health journey. But if we can be there for each other, regardless, you don't know what someone else is going through, but if you're dancing with them, you're smiling with them, you're acknowledging their stories, regardless, you don't know their stories, but you acknowledge that you see them. It's this really special like connection that gets formed like without words. And then afterwards, there's always the opportunity for, I always encourage people, strangers are just friends you haven't danced with or met yet.
Danced with,
so,
cute.
Yeah, and so meet a friend, get coffee, connect. Yeah. Because I don't want people to be alone. I know what it's like, and it's not a good feeling.
It was just a really cool thing to do, and now I see that you have an event space and you're working with some other places, and tomorrow you have a super cool event. It's blacklight yoga, it's silent disco. Yeah,
so lots of fun things in the works.
So bummed that I'm missing it. Like, and you know what's so funny is when I booked my flights, I did check Exploring Within. I was like, are there going to be any events I should be there for? Because I knew I wanted to come in January. And I should have just messaged you. I don't know. But, there's so many different things that go into planning dates and everything. But I'm just so excited for you to see how much it's grown and how much you're touching people here and how you connected me to others. And you're loved on the island so much. I'm going to pull up this message because I screenshotted it, because this is just the essence of your being. Like, if anything, it's something that you sent in a group message. If we really, yeah, and I was just like, she is just the most precious, sweet human, and now I need to go find it.
Like, what did I say?
So, what you said, you invited me and a ton of other girls out for a girls' night, and nobody knew each other. We all just know you. Oh, that's true. And we went to salsa night at Gertrude's, I think, and you texted our group message, and it was a few minutes before people got there, and you said, I want to dip my toes in the water and stare at the moon, so I'll be there for whoever arrives first. You'll find me there.
That's so
Just
funny.
so I want to dip my toes
So
in the
funny.
water and stare at the moon. Like, and then I saw you standing on the beach just looking up at the moon. I was like, she is the most precious person. And then, you know, that's actually how I met some people that I reconnected with here on the island
Yeah.
in coming back, and that was just so special. And you make these waves in a lot of different ways. You just have a really, really big heart, Bri.
That's so funny. I think the same of you. I mean, we only connected briefly while you were here. And then I remember you asking me what my address was so that you could send me like a Lila business card with like the
Yeah.
definition of Lila. And it was so beautiful. I used that as a bookmark for a while. So anytime I open up my book, I'd also read about Lila and the definition of what you're bringing into this world of like acknowledging those little beautiful moments that are always there when if you take the time to look at them, right?
Right.
They're always there. We just have to find them.
That's so sweet. I'm glad that it resonated with you.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be cool someday to be able to do some type of joint event with our two brands when I'm back on the island. And
Can
like
make me blush
you're
and
working,
cry.
I know you're working with Humanity Hale right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also I remember, I think you did some really special work. Was it in Nicaragua?
Oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, Nicaragua's my homeland. It's my people, my roots, my blood. I went back in October of 2022 for a month, and there was a hurricane there during my time, and I remember being like, what can I do? Like, I'm safe, I'm okay, but there's so many people who lost their homes and destruction, and like it's already a place with so much poverty and pain, and there's a dictator, so essentially like suppression. There's lots of suppression. But I wanted to find a way to like, I'm an adult now. I can do stuff. Like as a kid, I used to feel so helpless seeing all like the poverty and hunger and homelessness there. And during this trip, I was like, what can I do? So I put together like a fundraiser with my family and friends and just reached out to everyone I knew. It was like, we want to get food to a specific town that had really been impacted because they were near a lake. So the like border of the lake expanded and overflooded an area. And I have an aunt who, she does a lot of humanitarian work. And so we got together and we were like, how can we help? And with the money that we raised, I actually hosted an Exploring Within at the hostel I was staying at. And some of the girls from the hostel came with me. There's 3 of them came with me, and we distributed food to this village to over 100 families. So we made little care packages, and over 100 families got the care packages. And while it's little, but it was going to be enough for like 2.5 weeks at least, until the water receded. And I was just like genuinely wish I could do more. That's something I'm looking into, being able to provide like clean drinking water for places that need it. That's a big one. I want to be able to give back more. As a kid, I used to feel so hopeless, and I'm an adult now. I'm like, maybe I can make little waves of changes here and there. Hopefully.
And you do. And now we didn't even really get into it, but you're working with Humanity Hale here on the island. And do you want to just say something quick about that kind of work that you're doing?
Yeah, so Humanity Hale, I started off as I volunteered with them for like a semester. It's a free trauma-based support program for Keiki children on island that have gone through a range of traumas, from physical abuse, sexual abuse, homelessness, maybe family dysfunction, maybe like parents with addiction, but also bullying, mental health issues. Trauma is like a wide umbrella, right? So anyone that's gone through anything, this is a safe space for cultivate a safe haven for them and create these programs. And I just fell in love with their mission. I wanted to help more, so I asked the founder, like what can I do? I started helping out with securing lunches with other restaurants, businesses, and donating that part. And then I got hired to be their admin director, helping create the programs, bringing in the guest mentors that are going to speak, or arranges. The programs can be like art therapy, group individual therapy, life skill building, abuse prevention, diversity training, and we also go on really fun field trips. So my inner child is just like has loved being a part of that organization, and they become like my family here. I've actually hosted 2 Exploring Withins for the kids, one at the park and then one at the campus. And yeah, just again, being a child that's gone through a lot of trauma and has gone through the abuse, I didn't think I was going to make it, honestly. There's been times where I didn't want to be here, and I genuinely didn't think that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I just lived in my darkness and my depressions, and being able to be where I am now in my mental health journey and feel like alive and grateful and so much love for myself and for others. I want to be that hope for these kids that might also have those feelings, because I've been there. And some of the stories that I've heard, I can't even fathom what these kids have gone through, but they show up every Saturday with joy and with a desire to live, and just being able to be a mentor there. It's really special. It's a really special organization. If anyone wants to donate to Humanity Hale, we're trying to fund for a group foster home, humanityhale.org. It's a really great organization here in Ireland that is very necessary, very needed, and I'm lucky and grateful to support in any ways that I can.
And how can people support you if they're, I mean, I know on island, come to your events, of course, and you should, because they're really cool and really fun, and she puts so much, you put your entire being into it. And
like
so, but how else can people support you?
Thank you for asking. So come to the events if you do live on island. Follow at Exploring Within on Instagram, or if you do Facebook, it's Exploring Within. I also launched a podcast. It's a short form podcast at the moment. I write love letters in nature, to and from nature. So I call them Love Letters from Nature, about a minute or 2 long. And I'm only on Spotify right now, but so Exploring Within on Spotify. Check us out. exploringwithin.com.
That reminds me of another thing that you do on the island is the community journals. Now, something that is really amazing that Bri does is she has these community journals that she leaves at different coffee shops and things like that on island, and people can just write in them. And it's really special. And another thing that you have is these little affirmation cards. And I just feel like every time it's what I need to hear. And it's just so special, and you're sprinkling your light all over the place. And I am just so blessed to have met you, and you just have a special spot in my heart. You're such a kind soul, and I want all the best things for you. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and for doing the things that you do. And I know that this will all come back to you tenfold.
Thank you. That's so sweet. You're such an angel. I'm so glad we got to reconnect. And Jojo and I got to go to like a poetry slam together and reconnected at the Ladies Entrepreneur coffee date. So it's really full circle to be back here with you, and also just so inspired by your podcast. Like, this is something I've said I wanted to do, so I'm like,
and you are doing it. You already launched yours.
Yeah. Teach me your ways.
Well, thanks so much, Bri.
Yes, thanks for having me, Jojo.
I'll be back.